she's not done. Thanks for coming here. Thanks for having me. Thanks to Catherine for setting it up. A very good friend of mine. And she's downplaying this award that she's getting on this weekend down in Bethesda at the Maoist Domestic Convention. It's a really, to win this lifetime achievement thing, it's a really big deal. I'm going to be there too, but I'm not winning. Yes, I'll be at the same table, which is really nice. So I'm here to talk about our... Now that's Bowser. He's so embossed that you can kind of pat him a bit. It's almost like having your own dog. Where to begin with this? How did this happen? Okay, I'm two people. I'm Peter Abrahams and Spencer Quinn. The dog part of me is the Spencer Quinn part. That's really all you need to... On the test that you'll be taking before we let you out of this room, that's the answer to that question, which is question 9C. One day, how this started was the dog part. One day my wife said, you should do something with dogs. Now, I've had dogs in my work before, but you would see them from the outside. And in fact, there was I think the reviewer for the LA Times, in a book I wrote called Oblivion, he spotted a dog I had in there. Okay, forget that part, because I came very close to quoting from one of my own reviews. I was brought up better than that.
We have to talk about your mother to us.
Well, I can't get to my mother right now, but there's one... Okay, there is one review I do quote. Is there time for a little digression? This isn't on the test.
We have plenty of time.
I've written for... When I first wrote for kids, in fact, it was what Catherine was referring to, the Echo Falls Mystery Series. So they sent me on the road, going to schools, and the book was a middle grade book, 5th through 8th. And I was somewhere out in the Midwest, and a teacher came up to me and she said, we've got 5 gifted 3rd graders who've read your book. Can they come to the talk? Even though it's 5th through 8th. And I said, yeah, because I wanted to see what these gifted 3rd graders look like. So at the end of the talk, up came the gifted 3rd graders. And 5 of them, and they were tiny little creatures, and the red-haired one with freckles looked up at me and he said, I read your book, it was pretty good. So pretty good is the only review that I quote, but it comes from a certified gifted critic, and not every writer can say that. Okay, that part, digression, now we're back to the story. So my wife said you should do something with dogs. And here's the funny thing about being a novelist, and I don't recommend it if you've got a day job. Sometimes 6 months worth of work can happen in 30 seconds. Now, the reverse is also true, which is why you shouldn't be jumping into this. So I knew within 30 seconds that I wanted to write a novel that was narrated by a dog. I wanted to put that dog in a traditional buddy type of mystery of the kind where the sidekick tells the story. So it goes all the way back to Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson, right? To the almost to the birth of mystery fiction. A little after, but close, where this classic form developed, where you have the two of them and the sidekick tells the story in the first person. So I knew those two things, and then I knew the most important thing about it, without which it would never have risen the way it has, and that is that this narrating dog could not be a talking dog, is not a human in a dog suit, has no human attributes whatsoever, knows nothing of Mozart, isn't particularly wise in any way we could relate to. As purely canine as I could make him. And that is the secret of all the dog writing I've done now, which includes the first 8 novels of the Chet and Bernie mystery series, and then the 2 of these so far for middle graders, Woof and Arf. Chet in the first book and Bowser in this are not talking dogs. They're narrating dogs. But if you know anything about dogs, you know that there's the kind of narrative that's going on in their head. And that is what is on the page. Did anyone follow that at all? Did it add up? I'm going to read to you,
Yeah, right, just read.
I'll read to you, what, 40, 50 pages, not a, just a representative sample. So, okay, I'm going to read from the beginning of ours. If you're ever in this position that Catherine and I are, having to read, pick reading from the beginning. Because if you read from the middle, you probably have to set it up, make some explanation. If you read from the beginning, you just start reading. If you're up here and all of a sudden you find yourself, you're going to read from the beginning and there's still some explanation required, okay, you've made hideous mistakes and it's way too late to correct. So I'll read 2 paragraphs. Is that